Hey there, this is a review for our Ravenloft Old School Essentials Touch of Death adventure. This is session number 5. So we started off, we're in the crypt tomb, should be a tomb of Anktopot. Exploring that, we're on the ascending this stairwell, very steep set of stairs. Um, Not having a rogue in the party made it a challenge because we couldn't really effectively search for traps. So my character, Sir Roland, is in the lead, and sure enough, triggers a trap. And the stairs become kind of a slide, and he slides back down. He actually takes out Brunor and brings him with him. The other two members of the party, Malora and Hassan, our NPC guide, they avoid us, and so, but Bruno and I wind up at the bottom of the stairs, taking up some damage. We end up drinking some of our very scarce healing potions to kind of get us back up because we're a little bit beat up. But then we do make our way back to the top, and we come into this sarcophagus. All the markings on the sarcophagus have been scraped off, and we, from Hassan, who was reading the glyphs and stuff that are around the room, I think on the tomb, he says this is the overseer's tomb. And above the tomb, it looks like there's a portal that goes out, but there's this huge rock that kind of seals it. So we had some debate on what was beyond that rock, if this was a trap or, and I think Bruno was able, with his dwarven insight into stonework, was able to determine it wasn't a trap, but it was just a sealed portal. We did wonder what was beyond it, but we didn't try to remove it. But this place has been picked clean by vandals and thieves, so we move on and head back down, and we return to the lower levels. I think Malora found us a secret door. It leads into an antechamber, and there's upright sarcophagi in there, and there's 2 of them, and we opened them up, and 2 mummies come out, and so combat ensued. There was some fear checks, which Melora failed hers. Myself and Bruno passed ours, so we were able to continue the fight and defeat these mummies. We find the only item of note is a broken ankh that we find, so we keep that and end up at this point we're kind of really beaten up, so we find an earlier room and secure it when we'd cleared, and secure it so we can get some rest. We need to rest. It's not always wise to rest in a dungeon, but we had to. We had no other option. We had met the requirement for the 4th night that would allow access into the tomb, so now we were kind of off the clock. We're not on a timetable anymore, so we rest. We learn a couple things, or at least one thing my character learned was that his paladin immunity to disease doesn't work in Ravenloft, so he doesn't have that ability. So we did pick up some mummy rot, but we found a fair amount of cure disease scrolls. So Bruno was able to use those and cure us of all of our mummy rot disease, which was good. Next morning we get up and head into the massive this massive chamber with 2 large statues of Anubis, and there's a funeral barge in the chamber. We search the boat, and there's a big gong on there with the god Osiris engraved on it. Melora tries to use one of the scrolls we found, which was a scroll of stone skin, but she's casting above her level, so there's some extra steps rolling that has to be done, and she actually fails, and which is a bummer because it burns that scroll, and we lose that scroll. She loses that protection. I think Bruno had to do the same thing with cure disease, but he was actually able to make the roll, I'm pretty sure. Find another secret. It's actually a trap door, and in it is some scrolls and 2 some curing healing potions, some serious and light, and I think we got 2 more scrolls of cure disease. So we're going to be facing a lot of mummies. These will come in handy. We leave there. There's nothing else in this room that we can really decipher. We do figure out that we need to ring the gong with the Ankh, but the Ankh is broken, so we have to find the rest of the Ankh. So we continue to search this tomb. Excuse me. And we enter the burial chambers of Anktapot's priest. Now in the lore, Anktapot was killed by his priests because he was cursed. He wanted to live forever, and then his touch became death, and he ended up killing a lot of people, his family and such. And but he was killed by his priest. There's over a dozen sarcophagi in this room, and we're still looking for that missing piece of the Ankh. As we're searching around, all of a sudden there's a surprise attack, and Hassan is stabbed in the back by Isu, who we had thought we had killed back in her temple in Mudar, but then her body disappeared. We do battle with her. She's not as powerful as she was when we first faced her. She's missing her staff and such. So, and the dice were actually really, at least in my character's favor. I rolled a critical hit to finish her off, and narratively I cut her head off with using that bronze Kopesh sword that I had picked up, and Melora had actually picked up one too, which those proved very handy. We continue our search. We actually find a palm frond headed mace made of bronze, and Brunor takes that. So we're hoping it's a magic item, because some of the mummies we fought, with regular weapons we weren't able to damage them, but these bronze weapons, the 2 Kopesh swords, we were able to. So we're kind of, as players, we're not new to this, so we know that they're magical. I don't think it had been revealed quite yet what their properties were. They turn out to be +2 Kopesh swords, which are a huge help to us in becoming one of Sir Roland's favorite items for sure. We enter another tomb, and this is the eldest son's tomb, and he died by Anktapot's hand. And he attacks us pretty much right away. But I end up rolling, we do a little bit of combat, but then I rolled another nat 20 and was able to finish it off. So that was really good. I usually don't roll that many, either as a player, especially as a player, or a DM. So that was good. We found, so the next room is sarcophagi, the Anktapot's wives and children. Melora finds some more scrolls. We determined there's a comprehend languages, a magic missile, detect evil, and she's searching this tunnel that leads out of this room, and it ends up leading into like basically the eye of the huge statue that's in the main chamber of this tomb. It's just massive. So she has this bird's eye view of that entire chamber. But as she's messing around, she kind of gets this claustrophobic feeling and can hear stone grinding and stuff. So she hurries to get out of there, not sure what's going to happen. But in her search, we're in Anktapot's wife, Nefar's tomb. We find the missing piece of the Ankh that we have. So we're able to make that whole. So we know that, okay, we have the thing to ring the gong with. So going into this, we're thinking, I kind of lost track of, I think a little bit, is the fact that like Anktapot's touch or anything is death. Like he is essentially, in Ravenloft, he is one of like the Dark Lords of this realm, of this Harakir, So I think I know I did. I kind of lost sight of that because we know ringing the gong, and our intent was to get him to just lower the walls so we could leave this realm. Where our goal is to get out of here. So, like I said, I think we lost sight of that a little bit because this will come into play in a bit. But we return to the room with the barge and the gong, and as we're at the barge sits up about 20 feet above us, so we have a rope to go up to it, and we are trying to get up there. And as we do, this mummy comes around from the other side, and this is Senmet, who is the priest that Anctopot priest that Isu brought back, and is she thinks we learn that she thinks she has control of Senmet, but she doesn't have full control. And so he shows up, and immediately this is bad news. Like he just radiates this power. We end up fighting him for a bit. In Bruno had made his way to the top. He actually comes back down to help us, and we're hitting him. We're hitting him with magic weapons, and we do damage, but he's healing all that damage as well. We try fire, like we hit him with stick him with a torch, and it just goes out. So, and we didn't have a means of any magical fire, so we're like, we need to we need to figure this out. So we end up going back up the rope, because we'd actually brought him down. I think I rolled some really good hits, and with the help of the others, we were able to bring him down, but he's getting back up. So we scrambled back up the rope to get away from him and end up ringing the gong. And there's this powerful, powerful vibration that comes out of it. In the beginning of that fight with the Senmet, Hassan fled, left us in the dark. So actually, Bruno had to light a lantern so I could see. Like I'm a human character, so I don't have dark vision or anything. So we flee up the barge. Bruno rings the gong, and we have to make fear and horror checks. And I failed mine horribly, and run away to the. Kind of made a determination if I'd run down the rope to get away or run to the back of the barge, and I ended up running to the back of the barge. But the gong sends out this vibration, and and this place is starting to like shake and vibrate, like right out of the the movies. It's really cool. But then the door opens, and in comes another mummy, and we realize this is Anctopot, and he is just a horrific being of power, and we can't even get close to him. But Senmet and Anctopot begin to fight, and they're battling, and we have nothing other to do than flee. Like we have no chance of like engaging either in these in combat, and nor did we really want to. Like it was clear that we were not going to win this, and that's not what we were really here to do. We were not here to defeat Anctopot or even Senmet. We were here to try to get the walls of that were blocking us from leaving down. So we flee this tomb, and we're running out as it's like collapsing, and we're dodging debris as it comes down, and but we were able to make our way out. And Marius, the Vistani, the remaining Vistani member of the family we'd met, Delsalme's family, he's waiting for us, and we're like right out of. I think there was a little bit of joking about like start the wagon, Marius, right out of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Jacques needing to start the plane. But yeah, so we were able to flee it, and then we learned that the walls of Ra, as they were called, had been brought down, and we were able to leave Harakir. So that was the end of the session and the end of this adventure. We all survived it, which I was very doubtful that was going to happen. I thought we would likely lose at least one character, but we didn't, which was great. We will be, at some point, we talked about it, and we want to play these characters again, because it was talk about us just all going back to our own perspective realms. But I kind of like the idea of us when we leave here, we think we're going to go back to our realms, but we end up all together in some other dread realm, one of the other, is it Barovia, or is it wherever? There's plenty of options in the plane of dread that you can go to. And Matt has quite a collection of old Ravenloft modules to run us through, so I think that would be great. One thing we are likely going to do is we are probably going to switch from old school essentials to full-on second edition D&D. I've never played second edition D&D. I played AD&D and stole a bunch of stuff from second edition to use in my AD&D games, but I never ran or played in a second edition D&D game. And we were kind of running a hodgepodge. I think the players were operating out of old school essentials, and Matt was more operating out of second edition. This didn't cause any problems on the player end. Matt ran the module very well, and but I think it would make it easier for Matt, because trying to convert stuff. Like the damage values were higher in the second edition in the modules, but in OSE they're not as high. Like our curing wasn't as high as like it is in second edition. So we were taking like the damage effect from second edition, but only using a lesser curing effect from Old School Essentials, because Old School Essentials is, you know, it's basic expert and a D&D kind of mashed together very well. It's a very good system. I do have probably one complaint about it, but that could be for another video. Not a big deal, but easily overcome as well if you wanted to use Old School Essentials as your rule set. So I think we're going to switch to second edition. So I'm in the process of trying to track down a specific copy of the second edition Player's Handbook. And hopefully we can get some of those. And then when Matt's turn comes up again and we dive back into Ravenloft, we're going to convert our current characters to second edition, which will be interesting. I had this thought this morning, which will be interesting for Melora, because Chris, who plays Melora, was playing her as an elf, but races class, which is a basic expert D&D thing, and OSE does that very well, merging it in with games. So in OSE you can play that. You can play races class, or he could have played elven magic user. You know, like they do. You can do either and play both together. So it'll be interesting to see what we do with that. Maybe it'll make him a full-on magic user. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. We'll probably do another session 0 for the next module just to convert our characters over and stuff. But I'm looking forward to it. Fun adventure. Tough. Ravenloft is like second edition. Ravenloft is no joke. Like OSE was a good system as far as like it was a better system to use than Castles and Crusades. The way Castle Crusade saves work, it was very, very different, nigh impossible to make fear or horror checks, because nobody had a charisma as a prime, so we were losing all of them. This one, it was just the dice that would, if you lost, it screwed you. We all had a chance of making. We all did make them at different times. So, but yeah, looking for the next one. Can't wait to play some more Ravenloft. So appreciate everybody that's followed along with these videos and commented, and keep it coming. And I'll catch you all at the next one. Thanks.